Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with a review of the latest hotshot conductor playing Sibelius. Now, we already talked about Klaus Makela's dismal Sibelius cycle, and right now, Santtu-Matias Rouvali is working his way through an equally dismal Sibelius cycle. At least he's doing it in stages, so we don't have to trash all of it at once. Actually, this particular release, Symphonies numbers 3 and 5, plus Pohjola's Daughter, is not entirely terrible, which is an achievement. I was looking forward to this, actually, because Sibelius cycles tend to come in, well, let's put it this way. Conductors tend to do the first couple of symphonies really well if they have an affinity for like the romantic aesthetic, which those works embody. And then they kind of are selective in the later ones. Think, for example, Karajan, who never did number 3, Ormandy, who never did 3 or 6, but they really liked 1 and 2. And then there are the people, mostly the younger, more 20th century modernish conductors, who do well with 3 through 7, but who have no feeling whatsoever for the romantic aesthetic of numbers 1 and 2. Such was Rouvali. His numbers 1 and 2 were just atrocious, absolutely horrible. And here, I mean, I really know who this guy is now. And so will you if you listen to this, because number 3 is terrific. He just aces it. It's beautiful. It's transparent. It's lean. It's limber. It's sensitive. The tempos are just about perfect. He even gets the finale right. And the closing pages of the symphony, which are, I mean, it's some of the toughest music to do well that Sibelius ever wrote, because it's always anticlimactic, but not here. He really, really has a beautiful feeling for the entire work. The only one mannerism that he indulges in the entire performance, is when the big tune comes in the finale. Dum bum ba da dum, dum bum bum ba da dum. You know that business? Well, the first time it comes in on the strings, he kind of has this dum 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 bum bum dum ba bum da da dum, something like that. I mean, there's an odd little bit of phraseology there, but he doesn't stay with it. You know, once it takes off, it's nice and fluid and it moves beautifully. It's a wonderful performance. And I recommend it to everybody who wants to hear a really good third. It's really, really beautiful. And that's where the good news ends, because the 5th is closer to numbers 1 and 2. That is, it's a heroic symphony. It's given to grand statements. It has big climaxes, all of which are missing in this hasty, insensitive run-through, because that's what it is. Rouvali just rushes right through it. The opening is very, very quick. That fabulous transition to the second half of the movement, which is one of those, it's an enormous climax. It has no tension whatsoever. He just slithers over it. So did Makela. Very, very interesting. You know, why can't these people build a climax? Why can't they let the orchestra play loud? I don't get it. I don't get it at all. But they don't. And as a result, the whole movement is just has no impact at all. It's terrible. The slow movement is quick. Dum bum 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 bum. You know, like that. It's okay. You know, you can do it like that. It's not bad. But the finale is just a scamper. He just rushes through the opening. He blazes through the swan theme. You'd never know there's a flying swan. It sounds more like a pigeon or a sparrow or something. Do, 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 do. You know, just whizzes through it. And then the finale, the coda, oh my God, it's just horrible. It doesn't culminate in anything. And one of the things I've realized, thanks to Mr. Rouvali, is that when you do the coda, to get those last chords, to make them work, you know, with those big pauses between them, that you need a really monumental pile up at the end. In other words, that last big brump, you know, it has to carry you to those last chords. And here it doesn't at all, because he's just moving too quickly, and then it just stops, and it sounds silly. Absolutely silly, especially the last two chords, because he takes those timpani grace notes extra long. So instead of brum brum, which is the ending, I mean, sometimes you don't hear the grace notes at all. They're so quick. Well, here it's ba-dump, ba-dump. So at the last moment, you get this completely strange, unwelcome feeling of heaviness that he's avoided throughout the entire rest of the symphony. It makes no sense. But, the whole performance is just a wash. It's terrible. So it is with Pohjola's daughter. How do you blow that? Well, it has its moments. But again, Rouvali, he rushes through the opening, the introduction. It's already going too quickly. So the accelerando into the main body of the piece doesn't have the energy that it ought to. And then those big climaxes, he's just cutting them off with the brass. He doesn't let them play, especially the big one at the very end. There's a lot of transparency. There's lightness. There's, inner voices, all of those things. But it has no weight. It has no majesty. There's nothing imperious. There's nothing romantic. It's an epic poem, for Christ's sake, that Sibelius is illustrating. There's nothing larger than life about this thing. I mean, it's one of the great epic heroes in world literature, Wainamoinen, who's attempting the impossible tasks that the daughter of the Northland is assigning him, and blowing it and chopping off his own foot, for heaven's sake. You wouldn't know any of that's happening here. It's all just an abstraction, a swiftly vanishing abstraction. So what do we get? We get a very good third, we get a lousy fifth, and a not very good Pohjola's daughter. And we know who he is. He is completely immune to any shred of majesty, grandeur, romantic extremes, but Sibelius' music has all of those things. The bottom line is, he's up to some of it, but not all of it. Sibelius is a much bigger artistic presence than he is. And so he really has no business doing a complete cycle. He should do the third. He should do some incidental music. He could make a beautiful recording. But a cycle where he has to encompass the entire range of everything that Sibelius wrote in the orchestral medium? No, he's not qualified. It's that simple. Neither was Makela. These people have no business doing these things until they can encompass what the composer is. And I await the day. So keep on listening, friends. Thanks for joining me. Take care.